There is a bottle of ketchup in almost every refrigerator on Earth. It is so familiar that nobody thinks about it. A sweet, red, mildly tangy sauce with a slightly fruity aftertaste. You already know exactly what it tastes like. But the thing in your fridge shares almost nothing, not the ingredients, not the color, not the flavor, not the texture, with the original ketchup. The real ketchup was a fermented fish sauce made in Southeast Asia, closer in character to the Vietnamese nuoc cham on a street food cart than anything Heinz ever bottled. This is the story of how the world's most consumed condiment traveled halfway around the globe, lost everything about itself, and somehow ended up more popular than ever. The story begins in coastal Fujian, China, and across the Malay archipelago, where fishermen had been fermenting fish with salt to create intensely flavored liquid condiments for centuries. This sauce, called ke-tsiap in Hokkien dialect, ketchup in Malay, was dark, salty, powerfully umami, and nothing like a sweetener. It was the same family of condiment as garam in ancient Rome or fish sauce in modern Thai and Vietnamese cooking. British and Dutch sailors encountered it in the trading ports of Southeast Asia in the 17th century. They loved it immediately. The British, characteristically, began attempting to recreate it at home using whatever they had available, which, crucially, did not include tropical fish. And that is where the transformation began. Unable to source Southeast Asian fish reliably, British cooks began making ketchup from whatever fermentable, savorable ingredients were at hand. By the early 1700s, British cookbooks listed dozens of ketchup recipes: mushroom ketchup, walnut ketchup, oyster ketchup, anchovy ketchup, even elderberry ketchup. The word had essentially become a generic term for any dark, intensely flavored fermented condiment sauce. These versions were still nothing like what we know today. Dark, umami-rich, used to flavor stews and pies rather than dunked with chips, and the one ingredient we now consider essential, the tomato, was entirely absent. In Britain and much of Northern Europe, the tomato was widely believed to be poisonous well into the 18th century. It had only recently arrived from the Americas, and its resemblance to deadly nightshade made the upper classes deeply suspicious. In America, tomatoes had a different reputation. Grown in the southern states since the early 1700s, they were considered perfectly safe and were eaten with enthusiasm. The first recorded tomato ketchup recipe, published by James Meese in Philadelphia in 1812, used tomato pulp, spices, and brandy. No vinegar, no sugar. It was still recognizably in the tradition of the original, a fermented, intensely savory condiment. Over the following decades, American cooks began adding sugar and vinegar to stabilize the sauce for longer shelf life, and the flavor shifted dramatically toward sweet and tangy. By the 1850s, tomato ketchup had become genuinely popular across the United States. Then, in 1876, a Pittsburgh businessman named John Heinz bottled it commercially for the first time, standardized the recipe, and created the product that would eventually sit in 1 billion refrigerators worldwide. The reason ketchup became the world's condiment is not just history, it is biology. Modern food scientists have analyzed ketchup's flavor profile and found something extraordinary. It stimulates all 5 basic taste receptors at once. The tomatoes provide sweetness and umami. The vinegar brings sourness. The salt amplifies everything. The trace of bitterness from the spices creates depth. This combination, hitting every taste receptor simultaneously, creates a sensation of total flavor satisfaction that the brain finds extremely difficult to resist. Add to this ketchup's physical properties. It is a non-Newtonian fluid, meaning it flows when force is applied, which is why the bottle slapping ritual actually works. Heinz reportedly spent years perfecting the exact viscosity. The thickness was not accidental. It was engineered to feel indulgent, to coat food perfectly, and to make you want more. The ketchup on your table completed one of the most extraordinary journeys in food history. It began as a pungent fish ferment on a Southeast Asian harbor. It was kidnapped by British sailors, reinvented by British cooks, rejected for its missing ingredient, remade in American kitchens with a fruit nobody in Europe trusted, sweetened, stabilized, bottled, industrialized, and shipped to every corner of the earth. At no point in that journey did it stay the same thing for long. And yet, through all those transformations, all those reinventions, all those cultures putting their hands on it and changing it beyond recognition, it kept one thing constant. It was always the thing you reached for to make food taste better. That instinct, at least, has never changed.